name is Ofelia Veluz Villanueva, a general dentist from Quincy. Today, I will give you our guest speaker that will give you the knowledge and information to the meaning of one specialty in the field of dentistry, and that is pediatric dentistry. I would like to introduce to you Dr. Brian Lee from Quincy. Hi, Dr. Brian. How are you? Dr. Brian Lee. I'm sorry. How are you?
Good. How are you, Dr. B?
Yeah, that's good. Here we are here now in QA-TV, and thank you so much for having you. And I hope you will help the community to get a lot of information that will coming from pediatric dentist. Dr. Lee, I want to ask you, where did you get your education?
I graduated from University of Pennsylvania in 1994, and after that, I did residency in pediatric dentistry in specialty for 3 years at Tufts in Boston.
Tufts in Boston. How long have you been practicing in Quincy?
Quincy, I've been practicing for about 8 years.
Okay.
And I've been practicing as a pediatric dentist for about 13 years now.
Wow, so it's 13 years.
Right.
All right, I've been practicing for 19 years now.
Okay.
That's a general dentist in Quincy. Anyway, I would like to ask you some questions, and that will help to the viewers to know what is pediatric dentist. We covered before, previously, a lot of specialty like orthodontics, endodontics, and so much. Now I will go pediatric dentistry. I have some question here. Dr. Lee, what is a pediatric dentist?
Well, the pediatric dentist is like a pediatricians in dentistry. We have, again, 2 to 3 more additional training in residency, specializing in pediatric dentistry after dental school. So simply, we are dental specialists for infants, children, and adolescents. That's including special needs.
Are you meaning you are treating a handicapped children also?
Yes, yes, we do.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so handicapped. But difficult to treat, but you have to have a lot of patients really to do handicapped dentistry. Dr. Lee, you mentioned about the handicapped dentistry.
Yes.
That on your specialty, you see also compromised children and handicapped children. Handicap is very broad. I mean, what do you mean? Do you see the handicap like kids with a wheelchair? Do you see them on your office? Or do you see them on the hospital?
Well, I mean, there depends on the level of the handicap. It depends on the kinds of handicap problems the kids do have. Most of the times we do see the kids in the office, but if the kids are severely handicapped with the physical ability to sit in the chair with the severe dental problems, then we do take them to the hospital and do the work under the general anesthesia and do everything at once.
Wow. So meaning you can do all the dentistry in one setup, kids sleep, put to sleep,
yes,
and here we go. Everything is fine. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I know I referred my patients if they really, I cannot do them. And I said, I think you better see your pediatric dentist. Because to me, I can't do it.
Okay.
When should a child first see a pediatric dentist?
Well, child should see a pediatric dentist by age 1, or when the first tooth comes in. So when you, as a parent, when you see a tooth comes in first time, that's when you should call the pediatric dentist and make an appointment for the first visit, or 6 months, within the 6 months after the first tooth comes in by age 1.
Age 1?
Yeah.
Meaning when the parents come to your office and they have a 1-year-old baby, actually you are educating the parents.
Right.
You know, what they do, you know, so that they will not be, you know, so surprised, oh, the baby's teeth is here now.
Right.
So 1 year old is the best time to see you
Right.
or any pediatric dentist.
Right.
Oh, that's good. How about when should parents start cleaning their baby teeth?
Well, the sooner the better. When starting at birth, the parents should clean the child's gums with either soft cloth or soft bristle toothbrush. And when the first tooth comes in, that's when you want to start using a toothbrush and the non-fluoridated toothpaste until age 2, because we don't want them to swallow too much fluoride at such a young age. After 2, between 2 to 5 years old is when it's okay to start using fluoride toothpaste, but it is nice to use a pea-sized, a small amount, just a small amount of fluoride on the toothbrush, especially when parents are helping to brush the kids' teeth.
Okay.
So this way we make sure that they don't swallow too much fluoride at the time.
Meaning from 2-year-old below, you recommend them not to use any toothpaste with fluoride.
That's right.
Is there a toothpaste around there that no fluoride?
There are many different kinds at the market that you can find. You can check with your pediatric dentist about that.
Okay. You talk about fluoride 2-year-old below in the toothpaste. How about in the water? Because I see that there is a water now for kids that you can, you know, give to the kids. So what is that?
The water fluoridation is very important to kids' dental health, because the research is showing that the kids who drinks fluoridated water growing up has less than 50% of cavities comparing to the ones that didn't have any fluoride growing up. So it is very important if they don't drink the water that has the fluoride in the community water, or because of towns don't have a fluoride, or they're drinking bottled water these days, you can check with your pediatric dentist to have prescriptions for supplemental fluoride.
Can I go back? You're talking about 2-year-old below, no fluoride on the toothpaste.
Right.
How about the water?
Well, we're talking about 2 different types of fluoride here,
Okay.
basically. One's systemic fluoride, the other one is topical fluoride. The one that we recommend not to use under age 2 in the toothpaste form was the topical fluoride.
Okay.
It comes in also mouth rinses, gels or fluoride varnish that we use at the office.
Okay.
But the other type of fluoride is important is systemic fluoride. The systemic fluoride is something that we want the kids to swallow, so it will be in the system. Mainly, we find it in the water.
Okay.
Many towns and cities do add fluoride in the water.
Okay.
And if they do drink water that has a fluoride, and the parents cook with the water that has a fluoride, and
Okay.
that is usually enough for the kids to have systemic fluoride, so that when they grow, the teeth grow stronger and healthier.
Okay, so, I'm back to that. So fluoride toothpaste, no for 2-year-old below. But
Right.
then drinking fluoridated water in the community is okay.
That's
So meaning if they have a fluoride in the water, meaning they don't need additional fluoride, that will be intake.
right.
Right?
So
Okay, I
that's-
just want to clear the viewer
Right.
because that's the frequent questions about fluoride, because they have another question about like what is your recommendation in fluoride for a child?
Right.
And you talk about already about the cities.
Right.
So they have to ask their town if their water is fluoridated.
Right.
And if it's not fluoridated, then they have to ask the pediatric if their kids needs additional fluoride, like a tablet form or a gel form.
Right,
Right?
right.
Okay. Dr. Lee, are baby teeth really that important to the child? Mostly the parents will ask, why do I have to save the baby's teeth, my baby? It will come out anyway. So why should I take care of that?
Well, baby teeth are very important in many good reasons. I mean, not only do they help children speak clearly in speech development years, and also maintain good nutrition by permitting a child to eat properly. So you have to have a teeth to chew, basically. That is the primary importance of the baby teeth. But also that baby teeth are, in my opinion, the best space maintainer. What I mean by that is when you have a cavity and end up getting the tooth pulled prematurely, then and you don't do anything about it, you lose that space.
Okay.
And then the permanent tooth that follows that baby tooth is not going to come in, will not going to come in properly because it doesn't know where to come in, and also there's not enough space for that tooth to come in. So if we keep the baby tooth naturally, that will maintain the space until the permanent tooth comes in to replace that baby tooth.
Okay, so meaning space maintenance. So the viewer should know that the reason why you preserve it is because you want to preserve the space for the permanent to come. But let's say something happened and the parents did not really reserve or preserve that baby tooth and they come for extraction, then what do you recommend? You know, let's say, of course you're going to lose the space now because they pulled the molar, you know, so do you recommend anything?
Well, first of all, if there's any type of infection or cavity, infection from cavity, we do our best to try to save the tooth naturally as long as possible so that the baby tooth can be there until the permanent tooth comes in. By doing filling, pulpotomy. Pulpotomy is considered as a partial root canal for the baby tooth.
A partial root canal.
For the baby tooth.
Yeah.
And this way, even if there's a infection in the tooth, that we try to save the tooth as much as we can. But in the worst case scenario, if it can't save the tooth anymore and we have to extract the tooth prematurely, then we put what we call a space maintainer.
Okay.
The space maintainers come in different design, different shape, and different needs. I have some samples here if you'd like to see.
Yeah, it's nice because it's nice that the viewer knows, let's say, your baby molar been extracted because of decay and cannot save anymore. So what is the that thing in order to preserve that space so that the other molar, the permanent, will come out naturally and you will not have any overlapping of the teeth or like any problem, so that you may have an orthodontic, and you know orthodontic is like the braces. So maybe you can show it to the viewer. That will help them.
Well, the simplest form is what we call a unilateral space maintainer, which is just a one-side space maintainer. So in case there was a one tooth prematurely pulled out or extracted, and we put something like this in the mouth by using the tooth right behind it against the tooth in front of it. So, and this one is considered as a fixed appliance. So this doesn't have to come out of the mouth, in and out of the mouth. It stays in until the tooth comes in and we take it out.
Yeah. This is the molar. This is the first molar, a permanent molar of the baby's teeth. And it's not being replaced by any, you know, like a baby tooth. So the parents should know in the back teeth, if you see a big molar, that's a permanent. And then if you lose the primary molar here, which is the baby's primary molar, the second one, then this is the space maintenance,
right,
you know?
Right. It is very important. I get this question a lot as a part of why we need to keep the baby teeth and do the fillings and fix the teeth and all that. The reason being is that a lot of, and most of the back molars are not falling out until 10 or 11 or 12 years old,
Yeah,
or
10,
sometimes
yeah.
later than that.
Right.
So it is very, very important to preserve the space by keeping the teeth naturally. In my opinion, that would be the best way to preserve the space.
Maybe you can show it more so that they can see it. And
That's fine.
okay.
I'm gonna do
All
a
right. So you
clip
can
later.
get up. Okay. All right.
And that's one kind. And the other two kinds that we have here is what we call a bilateral space maintainer. Usually considered for a little bit older kids that they have a first permanent molar is already fully erupted. This is for lower on the bottom, and this is for upper top. So it's a little bit different design, and it's cross the arch this way because that's the shortest distance it can go. This is the bottom that more like a U shape because of the tongue is there, so go around the tongue sort of way.
All right.
So-
Yeah. On the
so
top.
it's
That's
not-
the one
it's
is on the
not-
palate. The one is on the lower.
Right.
Which is this is the back, the back teeth, and this is on the palate.
Palate,
you know?
yeah.
Okay.
And I got just one more type here, which all the ones that I showed you here are all fixed appliances, so it stays in. The kids cannot take them out until we actually take them out ourselves when they're done. This is a removable space maintainer, sort of like a denture or plate. So if someone's missing a tooth here, and someone's missing a tooth here, and so many different places, and they want a little bit more aesthetic replacement, then this will keep the space, preserve the space by putting in like this, and it'll have a better aesthetically pleasing
Right.
smile,
Yeah.
mouth.
Right.
Yeah. But this is something that they can take in and out. So for the kids that have a better compliance.
Wow, that's good. Meaning, if the kids has no, they had the tooth extracted,
Right.
so they can use that temporary stay plate,
Right.
or like removable,
Right.
so that the kid will grow and good. They will not tease by the classmates. No teeth, no
right,
teeth.
right,
And
right.
it makes it seems traumatic to the kid.
Right.
So, okay. How about thumb sucking? I want to ask you about the thumb sucking. I've been questioned also, like kids with the primary teeth, baby, and their thumb sucker. Are they going to be an open bite when they grow? All right. So, would you mind to explain it to the public or to the
Yeah,
viewer?
the thumb sucking.
What is, sorry?
Yeah, thumb sucking or digit finger sucking or the pacifier habit, they all cause a problem to the teeth and the bite on growing kids. It could cause an open bite, as you just mentioned, in the front, meaning that when kids are biting down, there is a big space in the front. They can't bite in the front much because there is a big space.
Yeah.
What we call open bite, and also very commonly they have cross bite in the back. So
Okay.
the upper arch is too narrow for not wide enough for the bottom arch that there is a cross bite in the back. And many times in cross bite, kids have to shift their jaw to one side, what we call a functional shift to one side. It could be left side or right
the
side,
right side,
right? And which gives appearance of crooked face because of shifting.
Okay, so it's just like more lean to the right. But are you talking about like young kids, 2-year-old below? Because some, infant, that's pacifier, it eases them, But then isn't it like when after 2, or if they have a permanent front teeth, that's no good.
Right, right. But I've seen also, I like to see, first of all, the kid stop sucking their thumb or stop using the pacifier by age 3.
Age
Right?
3, okay.
Right, because, everybody's different and the results can be different of using the prolonged use of all these habits. But I've seen cases who stop their thumb by 4 and have a big open bite and the cross bite with a functional shift that was permanently damaged, that needed some kind of orthodontic treatment to fix it. So I like to see that it's stopped by age 3.
So meaning you want them to stop doing the thumb sucking at age 3.
Right.
But then if there are like infant, like 3 months, 4 months, up to 2.5,
Right.
it's okay. You recommend it's okay.
It should be okay, and it's not that easy, you know, by age before 3 years old to stop their habit of sucking. So yeah, it could be that.
Yeah,
fine.
because that's a problem of the parents.
Right.
You know, sometimes, you know, some people, they ask me, how can I stop my baby doing that thumb sucking? And, well, you know, I put something on the finger or the thing, you know, but I don't know.
Right.
All right. Dr. Lee, there's a question from the parents too, like, what should I do if a child tooth is knocked out? You know, the front teeth, because they play, you know, knock out. We're talking about the baby teeth first. Maybe I can ask you about the permanent also.
Okay.
Let's say the baby tooth been knocked out.
Okay.
What do you do, or what do you recommend?
Well, if child fall and traumatize a tooth and the whole tooth falls out, usually happens in the front tooth. If the baby tooth falls out, first you do is calm your child and just relax and don't panic. Because I get called and paged a lot, and parents are very panicking, and which is understandable. But you know, relax and calm your child, and don't ever try to put or replant the tooth back in the socket, because you don't want to do that with the baby tooth.
Okay.
Because when the baby tooth fell out completely, by putting back in, there's a potential damage to the permanent tooth that's growing in already inside. So you don't want to put it back in. Okay, and call your pediatric dentist right away, and have them check and make sure everything else, including face, lip, and gum, and everything else is okay. Yep.
For the permanent, you know, you answered about the baby teeth that been knocked out. So
Right.
don't do nothing.
Right.
You know, you go to your pediatric, you know, calm down. But about it's a permanent, really it's a permanent that it will not be replaced anymore. So what do you recommend?
Well, the permanent tooth is a little bit different. Obviously, permanent tooth is more important to us. If the permanent tooth, entire tooth is knocked out, the time is very important. First, call the pediatric dentist right away, and you want to clean it right away under cool water. But you don't want to scrub it, you don't want to wipe it, you don't want to use any type of soap materials, just the pure cool water. By holding the crown, not on the root, holding the crown and rinse it thoroughly, and if you can, try to put it back in the socket. That's the best thing to do. As sooner you put it back in, better chance the tooth is survive. So if you can put it in, go ahead and put it in, and hold it gently with a gauze or a cloth in the socket, and get to the dentist right away, so they can splint it and they can do different things to try to save the tooth as much as they can. If you cannot put it in, if you're afraid to put it in, or you don't know how to do it, you don't want to do it, then you take that tooth, clean, as we talked, in the cool water, and keep it in the clean container with milk, saliva, or water, and get to the dentist as soon as possible. So they'll be able to replant it in if they could.
Okay.
So time is very critical here.
Okay.
Sooner you get to the dentist, and better chance that we can save the tooth.
How many minutes that the tooth is safe? How long it should be on the container?
I mean, until you get to the dentist. But if you can somehow get it to the dentist within 2 hours, that will be much better chance of
So within
surviving.
2 hours, it's much safer that you put in the water. If you have courage enough, put it back. It's clean. Hold it on the crown.
Right.
Put it on the socket, and then bite. Now, that's a good, information. You know. How about if the primary? Can I go back to the primary teeth?
Yes.
That it's not avulsed or did not come out from the mouth, or avulsed teeth, but it's there and been traumatized, and then the mother was panicking, but then, of course, it's still there. So what do you recommend?
Well, what we recommend, again, just relax and calm your kid, and then bring the kid to the pediatric dentist as soon as possible. And what happens when the tooth is traumatized and still in the socket, still in the mouth, we have to make sure that tooth has not moved, first of all.
Right.
If it's moved, and because it's moved tooth and there's interference on the bite, then we have to do something about that. If it's not moved, in my opinion, the most important thing after trauma is follow-up.
A follow-up.
Yeah.
How long is the follow-up? Like after 2 weeks or after a month that you want to see the kids?
Well, with the baby tooth, I like to follow up minimum every 6 months until the tooth falls out. So usually we're talking the upper front teeth. So we're talking around age 7 years old. Okay. The reason for that is after the trauma, there is always a possibility of infection that may happen down the road. It could be within few weeks after the trauma. It could be within few months or few years after the trauma. Okay,
all right. Let's say after a year, you see a discoloration of that primary teeth. What do you recommend?
Well,
let's say you see a little gum oil on the front, and then it's discolored. But there's no mobility. So what do you recommend to the parents?
Well, what we do routinely right after the first visit, after the trauma, is take an X-ray along with the clinical exam. With that X-ray, we use it as a reference point and follow up with the new X-rays and just to compare and see what the changes are, what other abnormalities are. If there's a bubble in the gum, and like you said, there's a discolored tooth, most likely there is an abscess.
Yeah, an infection?
Infection, yep. And then what we do depends on the age of the child and depends on the severity of the infection. Again, we try to save the tooth as long as possible. So if the kid comes in, for example, at age 3 years old with that symptom, with the problem, then we're going to try to save the tooth by doing a full root canal.
Okay, all right.
We're going to drain the infection out, put a nice filling inside, medication inside in order to try to save the tooth. If that same problem happens at age 6, for example, then there's no reason to
preserve
save the
it
tooth.
Because the permanent is coming.
Right, so we just extract the tooth.
Okay, all right. So you see that the permanent is coming through X-rays.
Right.
It's down there, and then you recommend to pull the teeth, the baby tooth.
Right.
Okay, so it speeds the eruption of the permanent.
Well,
because there's a timely eruption.
Right.
So you said 6-year-old, then you recommend to pull the teeth.
Right. If it's closer to exfoliation age, yes, we recommend it to be extracted if there is an infection or abscess. If it's much younger than that, then we'll do our best to try to save the tooth.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
You know, I know there's more 2 questions that I have to ask Dr. Lee. It's about, you know, the sporting, you know, like kids who always attend the school sports, you know, and how do you protect them? What do you recommend?
Well, I recommend custom-made mouth guard. At your dentist. It's simply by taking impressions top and bottom, and then from that impression that we took, we can make a nice custom-made mouth guard. There's a big difference between custom-fitting mouth guard that you can get at your dentist comparing to the ones that you can get it from the store.
Okay. So what's the difference? It's better that the one that is custom-made?
The custom-made is much better because it fits better.
Okay.
When it fits better, it protects your body better.
Better. Okay.
That's including your teeth, your gum, face, head, and neck too. So.
Do you recommend to all sports to have that?
Any activities or sports that sometimes possibly falls or get hit in the mouth or any type of trauma that related, yes, any type of contact sports or activities, they should wear the mouth guard.
Do you have anything like a mouth guard to show to the viewers?
Yes, we just have one sample here that that it comes in many different colors for fun, but this is what it is. It's got a few layers, and it's this way it'll protect the teeth better. But the most importantly that it fits much better. So
Okay.
when it fits better, it protects better, and also kids will wear it better too. Because if it doesn't fit properly, then kids will not wear the mouth guard because it's very uncomfortable when they're
Yeah.
in sports or activities, and then they're not protected.
All right, so that is one that is sent to the lab, right? You take
Right.
an impression on the first visit, and then when they come back, you will just give it to them. Do you have to adjust it?
Well, it's rarely adjusted, but yes, we do check the bite too,
Okay,
just
the
to make
bite.
sure that it's not giving any a different bite. But usually it's done. It's made very easily, very I'm sorry, very well that it fits really good.
Yeah, and that's not so expensive to the
Well,
patient.
it is
too.
more costly than stock trays or
Oh, okay.
boil and bite
Boil
trays
and
that
bite,
you can
okay.
buy from the store. But it is worth it, in my opinion, because this will protect much better. Because it could be a lot more costly. It could be 10 times more costly if the kids do have broken tooth or knocked out tooth from the trauma because they weren't wearing the mouth guards.
Dr. Lee, you mentioned about the mouth guard. I want you to explain more, like what kind of sports do you recommend them?
So the mouth guards are recommended for any type of contact sports or activities, such as basketball, football, baseball, soccer, hockey, wrestling, skateboarding, or even gymnastics.
Gymnastic? Wow. Oh, I never heard about gymnastic. So do you recommend that mouth guard in the gym, when they're doing gymnastic?
And if you're not sure whether they should wear the mouth guard or not in such an activity or sports, it's better to wear them than not wearing them. Because again, you gotta remember this is for a preventive purpose. So anything can happen at any time.
Dr. Lee, you talk about the mouth guard that protects during sports. I want that the viewer knows about that. That's a difference between the mouth guard, the sports, and the mouth guard that you use when they do sleep to protect the teeth because they are Braxer.
Okay.
Like Braxer?
Yes, yeah.
So do you think you can
Yes.
differentiate the two?
Yes, the mouth guard and night guard are two different things. The mouth guard is mainly to protect their teeth and head and neck and everything else in the face for sporting or activities. The night guard is usually worn at night time in the bed when the kids or patients grind their teeth. Night guard, getting a little bit into a night guard. Night guard is worn, but at such a young age, which is one of the very common questions that I get from the parents, that what they should do when the kids grind their teeth, and then they hear them grinding at night. Well, many times at such a young age, they can tolerate the having the night guard in the mouth. So we just monitor them, make sure that there's nothing severely damaging to the teeth or muscles or joints. As long as there is no damages to those structures or the teeth, then we don't do anything until at such an age that they can tolerate the night guard.
Oh, so when they become adult. So the other night guard that the other patients use when they have a TMJ problem, or like they're having pain in here, that's the same thing in the Braxer.
Right.
Okay. All right. Dr. Lee, I would like to ask you, because it's been always asked to me by my patients too, like, how often does my child need to see the pediatric dentist? Don't forget, I'm a general dentist. And I tell them, every 6 months, you have to come and bring the kid. And me, I refer the patient to you, especially the kids that really I cannot handle.
Okay.
As a general dentist, I see kids too. Not all general dentists see a kid, and they refer to you right away. And the mother will ask you. Would you mind to tell the viewer how often?
We recommend minimum every 6 months, but depends on the severity of the problems the kids do have. Sometimes we recommend every 3 to 4 months too. Every 6 months is recommended to prevent cavities, disease, or any type of other dental problems. Sometimes though, we do recommend every 3 to 4 months visits or dental visits too. Depends on the child's need. So for every day though, I like the parents to help the kids brush twice a day, floss once a day minimum before bedtime, and limit the number or frequency of the snacks per day, and this way we can help to prevent any type of cavities and disease that child can have. Our goal is to basically help the kids to grow healthy and beautiful. That's what we're here for.
All right, Dr. Lee, in pediatric, up to what age do you see them? Let's say, when do you stop seeing your patient? Up to what age?
Well, we normally see kids up to age 18.
Oh, okay, up to 18. And then after that, you let them go.
Right.
It's not time for you to see us. Okay.
Right.
Dr. Lee, thank you so much. I hope that, you gave enough information, and I know he gave so much information to the viewer, and I thank you. It's an honor.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for letting me to interview you.
Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you. And to all of you, I hope I help you and I gave you a lot of information in all phases of dentistry. On my previous show, I hope you can go back there and see that, because it's a lot of information and the question that you ask regarding specialty in dentistry. And here, again, I'm here, Dr. Ofelia Villanueva from Quincy. Thank you and have a nice day.